Hello coin collectors out there, welcome back to the Big D Coins channel. So in this video we're going to talk about the state quarter designs, in particular some quarters that I'm not particularly fond of as far as their design goes. Now this video is going to be based mostly on design and my personal opinion and commentary on the design of the state quarters. If you're looking for a more informative, specific technical video about state quarters, you might want to check out some of my other videos, which I usually include the mintages, the production designs, and all the history behind the state quarters. But this one is actually going to be just about the design of the quarter and some of my personal commentary. So I was inspired to make this video after I did something that I haven't done in a while, and that is coin roll hunt quarters. Now generally I like to stick with the pennies and the nickels because that's what you get your most bang for your buck with, but I decided this time to step back and try quarters again. The problem with quarters is that you don't find cool stuff like the buffalo nickel, the wartime nickel, the wheat penny, the steel penny. Those are all very cool designs to them. With quarters, mostly all you find is worn out state quarters and quarters from the late 1990s and 1980s. But that inspired me to make today's video, and as part of that process I actually found 4 of these quarters. Now this is a cool sign. These are the America the Beautiful quarters. These were the ones that were released in April 9th, 2018, representing Wisconsin. They are the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore. The next up in the America the Beautiful series actually has already come out, but it hasn't made its way up to where I live right now, so I haven't found any of those at the bank. But those were released June 11th, 2018, and they are the Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota. So if you live near a mint, or maybe if you live near Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota, you could actually possibly head up there and pick up some quarters. But those June 11th, 2018 ones have already been released, so keep your eye out there. I'm going to move these ones out of the way, so I decided to go with 4 rolls, so $40, and I found 4 in total for Apostle Islands quarters. So my percentage there was about 1 per roll. So I very much like this design right here. We see a gentleman in a kayak. He's kayaking along the lake shore in Apostle Islands, and we see these very steep cliffs. So these cliffs right here, and then we see that they have kind of trees at the top. So it looks like great scenery. I really like this design. Now let's talk about some designs that I don't particularly like. We're going to start off with my least favorite of them, and that is Ohio. We'll go with Ohio as number 1 on the list. What I don't really like about Ohio is a couple of different things. One is that they have the image right here of the birthplace of aviation pioneers. So what they're trying to do there is take credit for the fact that the Wright brothers were from Ohio. They originally designed the plane that they flew in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in Ohio, so they're trying to take a little bit of credit for that. However, this quarter came out in 2002, and the year before that we already had the Wright brothers on a quarter. So America probably only needed 1 Wright brothers quarter, but we got 2. So I think Ohio should have kind of decided to go with something else. The other imagery that you see right here is to encapture the fact that John Glenn and Neil Armstrong were both Ohioans. Those are both famous astronauts. One was the first to walk on the moon, the other was the first to orbit the globe. So we see that captured right there. Unfortunately, that design right there, the spaceman, kind of reminds me of the MTV award. They give out awards in which the trophy is a spaceman, which looks just like that symbol right there. All right, number 2 on the list is this quarter right here. This quarter comes to you from Pennsylvania. Now, my initial reaction when looking at this is that it has Lady Liberty on it, so I was a little confused. But nope, that is not Lady Liberty. That's what's known as the Commonwealth statue. That statue is 14 feet tall and sits atop the Capitol building in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That was placed there in 1905. Now, the other features that we see here are this design right there. Now, I had no idea what that was to symbolize, but that was to symbolize a keystone. So that's a keystone logo right there, and that's to symbolize that Pennsylvania is a keystone state meaning that they have a lot of people from different perspectives that live there. And politically, you kind of need to target Pennsylvania if you're in the election, because it's a big swing state. It can go either way and kind of flow with the different feelings and opinions at the time in the United States. So that is a Keystone logo that you see right there. We also have some writing on the right side. It says virtue, liberty, and independence. In general, I'm not really a fan of the writing on the quarters. I think the quarters should be able to speak for themselves as far as the design. So next up, we have this one right here, Ohio. Now, Ohio, my main criticism with Ohio is that they didn't really make the best of their space. So Ohio has some very nice landscape and wilderness to it. In fact, the Yellowstone National Park is mostly in Wyoming. Excuse me, this quarter is Wyoming, not Ohio. We'll get to Ohio later. So my criticism of Wyoming is that it doesn't have much to the design. Yellowstone National Park is missing from the design. Instead, we have a cowboy logo, which doesn't really take up much of the space. We've got a lot of empty space over here and over here. And we have the writing right there that says the equality state. So they decided to include that, as Wyoming was one of the leading states in the women's suffrage movement. However, I would have liked if they made better space of the back of the quarter right here. And next up is Idaho. So this one right here, the initial thought behind it was that this animal would be an eagle. However, it is not. It is a peregrine falcon. A peregrine falcon is I guess a famous bird in Idaho. Also would have thought maybe they would have included the potato, but maybe they're trying to break that stereotype. We also see an outline of the state right there, and the state's kind of pointing right at the chin of the falcon. And finally, in my criticism of the state quarters designs, we have this one right here, Michigan, the Great Lakes state. Now, my criticism with Michigan is that it just looks like a bunch of different blobs. Now, if you're a foreigner and don't understand the geography of the states, you would probably be very confused by this logo right here. So we see some physical land, which has a kind of bumpy texture to it. So we have that right there, and then the Upper Peninsula up here, and then the Great Lakes going around them, which are just kind of like outlines, silhouettes, that look just kind of like blobs or organs or like livers or something. It's hard to distinguish what those would actually be unless you knew very specifically that they are the Great Lakes. All right, everyone, that's all I've got for today. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of personal commentary about some state quarters design. So we talked about Michigan, Idaho, Wyoming, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Best of luck coin collecting out there, everyone. Take care, enjoy, and have a great day.